Hi everyone, today we're going to review Botar. Originally released in 2006, this model is a combo model comprised of two Titan sets, Axon and Brutaka. Before recruitment into the Order of Matanui, Botar was a resident of the Southern Islands with the rest of his species, which are known for their savage lifestyle and teleportation abilities. Once inducted and trained by the Order, Botar's primary task was to act as a courier, using his teleportation powers to take the Matoran Universe's most unforgivable beings to the Pit, an undersea prison. Some of the most notable beings Botar took to the Pit were the Baraki, saving them right before their execution by Makuta Pterodax, as well as Tuyet, Karzani, and even Brutaka. Botar has great confidence in the justice of the Order of Matanui, and would do his job quickly and efficiently. Though, Botar isn't all justice bound. For one instance, Botar shows us his twisted sense of humor, teleporting a Tatarak to Zaya, which causes major destruction. Botar's final mission saw him and Trainuma delivering a weapons cache to Brutaka and his team, though they were intercepted by Icarax, and Botar was killed in the ensuing battle. I also want to point out that this all happens in the background of the Federation of Fear story serial. So in all technicality, Botar dies unceremoniously off-screen. Botar would later be revived on the Red Star, but we never get to see him in story, so it's all just background filler. Now, because Botar has the ability to teleport, a lot of the time he only makes brief cameos, saying a few lines and then leaving with whatever he came for. So his most notable appearances are in a few books, such as Bionicle Legends No. 5 Inferno and No. 6 City of the Lost, as well as a few story serials such as Into the Darkness and Federation of Fear. Taking a look at the model, Botar is a massive combo model, being one of the taller Bionicle models I've reviewed on my channel so far. Starting at the feet, Botar uses a complex assembly of axles, pins, lift arms, connectors, Hortica feet, and these skate pieces to create a very wide and sturdy foot. The lower leg is interesting, as it uses Paraka parts attached to a lift arm to extend to a Vaki hip piece, which acts as a double ball-jointed knee. At the upper leg, it's made of a bunch of connectors and some Bionicle parts to cover everything up. Though what makes this section interesting is how it separates into two separate segments from the knee, connecting at 2 points at the hip. What's really cool about this is how both segments are designed, as they don't clash with each other when posing, but I'll get into that a little more in a bit. From here we have the torso, which is a huge amalgamation of Bionicle parts, lift arms, and connectors, using two Paraka torsos, one at the hips and one at the shoulders. And it's all covered up with a number of foot pieces and some Nuva armor at the chest. And it's all really clever how the chest is sculpted, turning the Nuva chest piece upside down and using the shoulder pads to fill things out. And when turning them around, you get to see how everything is built, as the back is pretty bare aside from a bunch of ball joints which act as supports for the arms. The arms are a bit of a cobbled together mess, using Vaki legs as well as armor and foot pieces to fill out and cover everything up. There's also a tube which runs to the lower arm, which is just a Rakshi leg and a blade mounted to it. And from here we have the hand, which is a foot piece with an added assembly on the outside to allow for an articulated thumb. Moving back up to the head, whoa! Botar's head is scary! Anyway, the neck is attached farther back, as there's an extra assembly that gives Botar these ear fin things, which are just these blade pieces on ball joints. And then the front of the head is made of a few lift arms and a Metru head, as well as a bunch of gold Borak eyes to create his maw. And this is really well done, with all the teeth lining up, it just looks really good. And lastly, Botar has one accessory, that being his hand axe weapon. What's interesting about this weapon is that it doesn't actually port into the hand. To get Botar to hold his weapon, he actually has to hold it, as friction from the thumb is the only thing holding the axe to his hand. Alright, articulation-wise, Botar is fairly well articulated. Just a quick heads up, my setup was never designed for a figure this big, so things might get a little awkward. Anyway, at the feet you have a standard ball joint with a piston assembly, so the foot can move forward that far, back that far, and you get your ankle tilt. As well, the rotation is not hindered because of the piston. There's a connector right here which allows rotation, and a crazy amount of rotation. So the feet are really well articulated. At the knee, you get this Vaki hip piece to give you a double jointed knee, and it can bend that far and straighten out that far, which is really, really good. And then at the hips, you have your two segments, which I mentioned earlier, and because of the double joint, it can move in that far and then move out that far. That's it. He can't do the splits or anything. In terms of forward and backward movement, get the arm out of the way. You can go that far forward and about that far back. That's it. It's not the craziest articulation, but you know what? The knees cover a lot of range. Then, the torso has nothing whatsoever. There's a ton of stuff on the back here, which is all for support on the arms. I don't know why you need all that extra ball joints. I guess it's just for aesthetics. But anyway, the arms are pretty good. So, let me up a little and focus. Again, my setup was not designed for a figure this big. So, arms can move up all the way, and then they can hinge forward this far, and then they can hinge back only about that far. But I think that's a good range of motion. And then the elbows can straighten right out, and they can bend in more than 90 degrees. Or not 90, more than 45 degrees. So yeah, that is pretty good. And then you get a ball joint here at, let me turn around. You get a ball joint here at the wrist, which you get all your hinge, rotation, tilts, all that stuff. Then you also get a ball joint here and here, so the thumb is fully articulated. Both ball joints can hinge, rotate, tilt, all that good stuff. So the thumb is really well articulated, and yeah, that's good. So yeah, and then at the head, this is where things get interesting. I really have to readjust for this. Okay, so there's a ball joint here, a ball joint here for the neck, so his head can move back and forward if you so want it to. And then these ear fin things are also on their own ball joint. They're a little more restricted due to everything that's around, but they can hinge, tilt, rotate, all that good stuff. And you can actually rotate them around and they look pretty cool like that. So yeah, it's a good amount of articulation at the neck. So, and then that ball joint can move this far back. You should probably adjust that far down, and you get a bit of tilt. You get some rotation. You can look about that far over before you have to adjust everything. If you straighten it out, he can look way more than you need to the left or the right. And then lastly, you get a ball joint at the jaw right here. So the jaw can open that much and close. And weirdly enough, it can actually rotate all the way around. I don't know why you'd need it, but it is there. So overall, Botar is a very well articulated combo model. So yeah, my goodness, that was tiring. He is a big figure. Alright, issues with this model. Let's see. There's okay, in all honesty, Botar is really good, especially considering it's a combo model where you have a limited number of pieces. If I really want to nitpick every little detail, the worst part about him is probably his knees, which don't allow for the greatest posability, and the axe not connecting properly, but it's not too heavy, so the thumb can just hold it fine. Personally, I have no issues with this one. He's structurally solid, he's got good support, and his colors are well balanced overall. And he uses pretty much all of the pieces from both of the sets he's comprised of. Like, here's what's left over. That's pretty impressive. Alright, size-wise, Botar comes in at about 38 centimeters or 14 inches at the top of his head. From shoulder to shoulder, he's about 15 centimeters or 6 inches. Here he is next to a Mata. Here he is next to a Metru. And here he is next to an Anika build. This guy is huge! For some in-story comparisons, here he is next to the Maxilos robot, who's technically Makuta, right there. And here he is next to Karzani. And here he is next to the two sets he's comprised of, Axon and Brutaka. So there's the large, the scary Botar. This combo model is awesome. He's just overall well designed from two Titan builds, not to mention he's huge, which makes him even more satisfying as he just towers over pretty much every other set on a shelf. If you have Axon and Brutaka, I highly recommend you give this guy a build. He's just so satisfying and scary. So that's Botar. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date with all my latest videos. And with that, I'm Legend, and I will see you all next time.